Hey, yo. It's 12:34 Eastern. I keep seeing 11:33. It's 11:33. I don't know why. So, today, let's get into this and see what's up, shall we? Now, what I haven't been doing is coming up with affirmations. So, we're gonna try to make sure we do that today because I remembered. Also, I don't know. Who it is? Oh, the world. The world and justice. So RBG has passed. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who has been one of the Supreme Court justices, honestly the only one that I've paid attention to, who's been so it's like her vote has always been on the side of progress for at least for certain things when it comes to gender equality and even like LGBTQ plus issues. She's always been an ally, or at least she's been an ally for a minute. And we're already playing that red, green, yellow dance. I don't know why. I don't know why we're playing this red, green, yellow dance. But she's passed. Hangman and who this? The Ace of Cups. I don't know. We saw that Hangman yesterday, didn't we? And I was like, wow, right before Libra season, and we lose one of the justices that, ooh, lovers in the Hangman. Well, the Ace of Cups is with the Hangman, so. And we lose one of the justices right before Libra season. And y'all know that, like, that means someone else is going to be appointed to that position this close to the election, which I guess I only bring up because, like, that's a pretty major position. Like a Supreme Court justice is a major position. And for that to open up right before a potential shift, right before a Libra season, it's like, why y'all take IBG? But she been fighting for a minute. She's been fighting hard. I would see stories all the time of her, like, did she have a cancer? I can't remember. I know she was battling with something and she would be in and out of the hospital, and I think there was like a vote one day and she had made it to go and vote, and she's done a lot for this country in particular and for certain, especially minority groups in this country. So I wasn't going to talk about it, but I saw the justice card. Also in this deck, I don't typically look at the cards because it's all limitation. But there was one card left in the deck, or left in the box, and it was the Tower. And the Tower being a limitation is interesting because either that's us not letting something go, or it's an energy of self-sabotaging. Before the foundation can get too strong, before the tower can get too tall, we come down and we wreck it ourselves, and then we're like, oh, why is someone else doing this? It reminds me of that one meme where I think he like shoots somebody and then he's like, why would somebody else do this? But it's like, you're the one that did it. Also, the other card that I saw was, because then I looked at the bottom of the deck to make sure that like I had all the cards facing the right way. And the bottom of the deck was, I don't remember. I don't remember what the bottom of the deck was. But I saw the Tower. And I was like, okay. Well, let's just get into this, shall we? Ooh, I'm wearing a hoodie today because it's getting colder and I love it. I need to find my sweatpants. Okay, what's the limitation for today? The 27th degree of Virgo. Oh! Let's see what the Sabian symbol is. For the sign. If I have them. That was one of the most interesting things. Excuse me. It's like, I have this one friend, the one who got me into astrology, the one who I met through a mutual connection on Snapchat, who was talking about astrology. He was also reading cards, but I never got a reading from him. Well, I've gotten a few since then, but I didn't before. He got me into astrology, got me into YouTube astrologers. YouTube astrologers got me into YouTube tarot readers. A YouTube astrologer got me into another YouTube astrologer who got me into a YouTube tarot reader. And then once I started watching her videos, different tarot readings started popping up in my recommended. And it's like every time I find one person, or every time I found one person, I would like, participate more and more, eventually end up as part of the community or something. And then there's always been like one person that's like, hey, like, I'm watching this, come watch this with me. And I was like, okay, because that's what I do, I guess. It's just like, oh, you're going over there, I'll go over there too. Why not? And that's how I would branch out more and more, because it'd be somebody else like, oh, I'm watching this person, oh, I'm watching that person. Pretty much everybody that I've watched or interacted with, I went with somebody else. And I just stayed. Like, if I like their content, I stay there regardless of whatever. What am I looking for? What am I looking for? What did I. Oh, yeah. Time Nomad. I just updated my phone because I missed widgets, I guess. And. Oh, snap. Mars is 27 degrees. And the sun is 27 degrees. And Mercury is 20 degrees. And the moon is 28 degrees. The moon is opposing Mars right now. Mercury is going to be opposing Mars soon. Moon's about to go into Scorpio. We're actually in the 27th degree of the Scorpio ascendant right now. All of these 27s. So we have feminine and masculine energy of Mars at the 27th degree, represented in the planet Mars itself and the rising sign, which can be a martial energy or a solar one, right? Because it's how you appear or how you put yourself out or something like that. I don't know. Is anything else in the 27th degree? No, I think it's just that. So that's Sun and Moon in conjunct, or quincunx. Our Sun and Mars. And the quincunx can play out. It's kind of sort of like in between a trine and an opposition. So it can kind of sort of go either way. I know for me personally, when it comes to signs that I quincunx with, it's like this thing where like there are things that I like. It's like I get along with them and then I don't, and then I do and then I don't. It's this like trine opposition dance for me personally. But the more that I learn the person specifically, for me as a Pisces sun, it's Leo and Libra. Those are the two where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stand them, but I also like them. But then I can't stand them. But once I learn like who the people specifically are as individuals, and I start to accept some things about them, and I start to see them in a different light, then it eases that relationship a lot more, right? Like, I love Leo energy now. Before, I was like, oh, but then I met a lot of Leos 2016, 2017. And then I met a lot of Pisces 2017. No. Was it 17, 18? No, that was 18, 19. When I was in RA, I made a whole bunch of Leos 2016, 2017. Last summer, I met a whole bunch of Pisces. This year, I'm not meeting nobody because, I ain't going nowhere. I just found out that another dude that I kind of sort of crushed on is a Gemini. I'm like, I don't know, like if I'm crushing on somebody, it's like 8 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, they're Gemini. If it's platonic, 7 or 8 times out of 10, it's a Virgo. I'm like, what the freak is this? I don't don't know. Why was I looking at the astrology? Oh, because I was gonna read the Sabian symbol. So yeah, that friend anyway, who got me into astrology. Excuse me. It was I think about March, Feb or March on one of the new moons or full moons because he did stuff. I don't know if he still does stuff on the full moon or the new moon. Um, but he was like, "Hey Patrick, you should look into your Sabian symbols." I was like, "My way." And it's interesting because March of 2019, he pulled the King of Cups for me. And then a year later, he pulled the King of Cups in reverse in one deck. And to clarify that, he pulled from another deck the King of Cups in reverse. The odds of pulling the same card from 3 different decks, they're very low. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I'm like, it was upright last year. Why is it in reverse now? So, Sun, 27 degrees. Let's see what the 27th degree of Virgo has for us. Let me go to my little ebook. Now, I didn't feel like paying a lot for something. So, what I found is actually crosses of the Sabian symbols. And so, what it does is it looks at the Sabian symbol. Hey, I'm already immutable. Nice. Let's just keep going to 27. What it does is it looks at the Sabian symbols from all of the crosses from the same modality. So it'll be Gemini, Pisces, or Gemini, Virgo, Sag, Pisces, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. And then it'll compare them to see what the energy is in that square, which is pretty interesting. Let's see. So this will be 27 to 28 degrees. Yeah, my son was like 2 men walking down a narrow path seeking enlightenment or something like that. I was like, oh yeah, that's me, for sure, for sure. That's me, for sure, for sure. That's me, for sure, for sure. 27 to 28. We'll start with Virgo, but then we'll actually see what else is up. Grand Dames at Tea. Grand Dames at Tea, sorry. It's 26 to 27. Grand Dames at Tea. Gemini is a gypsy coming out of the forest. Sagittarius is a sculptor. Pisces is a harvest moon. The theme of this cross is mutually beneficial patronage. Gypsies are nomadic and unfortunately stigmatized in society. Within the cross, the gypsy is an element of difference compared to the society of grand dames in their leisure. Sagittarius' sculptor brings the classic idea of a makeover, like of clay to art, to the gypsy/dame dynamic, and Pisces' harvest moon promises that the dynamic is mutually beneficial. A harvest moon describes a moon. Oh, we just had the full Pisces moon that was a harvest moon. That was our last full moon. A harvest moon describes a moon so large and bright that it affords people more time to gather the harvest to continue to bring in the crops later than when the sun has set. Oh. Gemini's gypsy emerges, changes location to where a group of established and more powerful/wealthy ladies exist, Virgo, one of whom may choose to mentor or mold Sagittarius, the strange newcomer, so that the community will benefit, Pisces. My personal experience of this cross is as follows. I moved from a regional area into a new city, Gemini, hoping to find work as a casual science teacher. So I put my name out to coordinators at local high schools, Virgo. I have changed careers, so I am a late starting teacher, but I do know the Department of Education is desperate for women science teachers, Pisces, late harvest of the female science teacher that I am. I am clear about what I will and won't do. For example, my day's start time depends on when my children's primary school gates open, and my day ends at 3 p.m. for pickup time. I set out my vision and priorities, Sagittarius, which are that my kids come first. One of the coordinators knows that I am new to the game and has been quite patient with my rookie mistakes, Sagittarius, regarding teacher booking software. She could easily judge me as unprofessional, looking at you, Virgo. Looking at you, Virgo. But as I gain experience as a teacher, Sagittarius, both the school and I will benefit, Pisces, from my learning curve. The cross describes how a new person, Gemini, in an established order, Virgo, helps mold others and is molded, Sagittarius, reaping rewards, Pisces. See, that's why I love this. So the part that we're looking at, though, is the part where we're already established. But the thing is, if we're already established, with the Tower being the card at the bottom of the deck, it's going to be, and I don't know how difficult it is, stereotypically for the energy of Virgo, it may not necessarily be the easiest, but it's like there's this need to be open and flexible, to allow a person to grow within that space, to then allow for the space to grow to the point where everyone benefits. It's almost like hiring new talent to modernize the company so that the company can evolve, so that it sticks around instead of going the way of Blockbuster, because flexibility is important. And Capricorn can only account for so much. That's where Virgo needs to come in, right? So we got the fancy ladies sitting down at the tea table, doing whatever they're doing, discussing events or affairs or something. I don't know. There we go. Only one limitation today. Bottom of the deck is the Sovereign of Cups, the Queen of Cups. One of those fancy ladies sitting at the table is the Queen of Cups. Now, the Queen of Cups can be a limitation because she's like the dreamy queen, right? She's the queen. Well, it also it fits with the Queen of Wands, but it's different. Because the Queen of Cups will be like, oh, this doesn't fit my fantasy, like I'm not into this, and she won't even give it a chance. The Queen of Wands is like, instead of it fitting her fantasy, it's like it doesn't fit her, because she is already living her best life. And she's like, this is not on par with the best life that I'm already living. Queen of Cups is just the fantasy, right? Nine of Wands at the bottom of the deck. You can see that card a lot. So let's get 3 cards. First, second, third, step. Please. What's another limitation of the Queen of Cups? She can have either rose-tinted glasses or shades on. Queen of Cups in a more... Oh, that's way too much. And y'all ain't hit the table? Nah. And y'all was all face down? It's like in an upright position, Queen of Cups can be overly dreamy, overly giving, overly romanticizing something to the point where she can't see it for what it clearly is. But in reverse, it's like the opposite of that. It's almost like a Queen of Swords energy when we talk about how it can be cold. But it's like, instead of these dreamy fantasies and illusions, it's nightmares. And everything is a nightmare, and everything is always the worst case scenario. So if that's the energy that you're bringing to the table, and that's what you're negotiating with, then, you can be subject to getting something that you don't necessarily want. And that came out on the new channel last night. It was this thing about, instead of like wanting to see the best, and instead of always looking for the worst, look for the truth. Because then you'll be able to see both sides, and you'll be able to make an informed opinion. You'll be able to make an informed decision, have an informed opinion. Because when you're only looking at the best, there are bad things that you're discounting. and it keeps you engaged with things that aren't necessarily for your highest good. And when you're only looking at the worst, sometimes you project things into spaces that aren't necessarily there, or you make these little molehills into mountains. And it's much easier to traverse a molehill than it is to traverse a mountain. And so you can end up rejecting things that are meant for you. It also speaks to the heart. And if it's body, mind, heart, and soul, and your heart isn't in it, your heart is one of the more, I think it's one of the more powerful of the body, the mind, and the heart. I would say the body is the weakest just because the bodiness has a consciousness of its own. The body pretty much operates itself, and depending on the state of the mind and the heart, it can either be in relatively good health or relatively bad health, because stress and heavy emotions just like wreak havoc on the body. And again, you don't have to do anything to the body for that to happen. It's just the mental and emotional state that you're in that does it. It has this like little program that runs itself. So the heart carries a lot of weight. And if the heart ain't open when you come to this conversation, it's like a bad negotiator. Somebody's like, oh yeah, they're sending the Queen of Cups, not the Queen of Swords. Oh, we can get over on her easy. We'll just lie to her, feed her this pretty fantasy, and like, she'll take it, and then we put it at the bottom, like, no returns. And so she's stuck with it, and we get our money and we leave. But if this healing has happened and that Queen of Cups shows up to the table, somebody gonna be shook. And the saddest part for the Queen of Cups will be that she'll see now what she didn't see before. Right? Because the Queen of Cups has this healing, awakening moment where she comes into more of her Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands, Queen of Pentacles energy. She's actually an Empress now, but she wears the face of a Queen of Cups to this table to see how these negotiations have been going down the whole time. And so she's actually not as easily manipulated as she was before. But she shows up to the table with, thinking the best of the people that are also at the table, even though part of her knows that, that ain't necessarily the case, but she still wants to have that hope, right? Because she is still the Queen of Cups. She's the Cuppy Empress, or the Empress in her Cuppy energy. And she sees these people clowning her, like feeding her all of this, and she's like, wow. So you really have just been taking advantage of me the whole time. And my kindness and my empathy and my niceness and my open heart and my desire to just like help. I see it now. It's kind of disheartening. I don't know if it's because I fell for this in the past, or if it's because I honestly thought differently of the situation. But yeah, I'm gonna step away from the negotiating table because now I realize that you don't have anything that benefits me. So, but that's the thing that all of the queens need to do, right? And even the kings, they need to come out of their shadow, because being in the shadow, it distorts things, and it keeps you from showing up the most authentically. Okay, y'all ain't never take. Thank you, goodness. I'm like, y'all ain't never take this long to talk, ever. Usually I get some cards by now, but as soon as I say something, they come out. Bottom of the deck is the King of Wands, and we saw him yesterday, didn't we? Lights, camera, action. I don't think that was the King. The King of Wands came out over here yesterday with the Aksunade energy. And what was the King of Wands about? I don't remember. But it's about showing up to the negotiating table whole. King of Wands, Queen of Cups. So who we have at the table, instead of two grand dames, I guess the King of Wands, it's a King of Fire, so he could be, a little bit more flamboyant, and it could still be two ladies at the table. Let me stop. Could be. But here we have emotions and here we have desires. And when they meet, they create everything. When they disagree, they create nothing. It's like they cancel each other out. And so I would say it may be time to pull back on the emotional side a little bit and move forward with what actually makes sense to get you where you want to be in life and what is supporting you to get there. Because sometimes when we're heavy in our emotions, depending on the situation, we can see a contribution as more or less than what it actually is. But when we're looking at where we want to go in life and what's helping us get there and what's keeping us back, it's a little bit easier to see. And even though we went through this whole Gemini, Blooming Rose, what's up? How you doing today? Even though we went through this whole like Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces story, the energy of Virgo, it's like it cooperates with the Gemini because it sees something within Gemini that, given time with that Sagittarius, will become something that benefits everybody with that Pisces. But if there's nothing in the Gemini to build off of or to build with, if Gemini only takes and can't give anything, then Virgo isn't going to accept that. And the sun is in Virgo right now, so it's time for us to not accept the things that don't actually get us anywhere or that don't benefit us. And now I ain't saying that you got to cut everybody out that's just like leeches and draining you and doing whatever, but healthy boundaries, you know? Healthy boundaries. You have your coffee. Oh, wait, let me grab my water. Bro. Hey, sometimes a hot cup of Joe is all you need to really make it over the hump. Ooh, okay, so let's get into this because we're about to head into Libra season, and Libra season is the energy. Our Libra is the energy of partnerships, right? And not always romantic. Exactly. Yep. Libra partnerships aren't always romantic. Sometimes they are business, sometimes they're platonic. It should be, again, with that Pisces harvest moon, a mutually beneficial energy. Now, Libras can also be the martyrs because, sometimes they do more for other people than other people do for them because they don't want any confrontation or something like that. Right. And it's interesting because I've been good friends. It's like Libra do that with everybody but me. Maybe that's why I don't like Libras. Because it's like, how come you be nice and you be like so giving and everything to everybody else? But it's like, since you so nice to everybody else, you got to be extra mean to me. I'm like, that don't make sense. And we're the ones that are actually supposed to be friends. You're nicer to people that you don't even like. But if I am where you learn healthy boundaries, then whatever, I guess. But you'll just like let yourself get taken advantage of and everything. But I can't even get a little bit of a favor, Libra, really. And Libra's like, hey, this is the only space where I get to be in control. Like, exercise caution, because if you're too controlling, this fish might swim away. My North Node is in Sagittarius. That means in this lifetime, if it's too rigid, I gotta go. That's my lesson. This lifetime, if it's too rigid, I gotta go. You're dealing with the Libra moon. It's been challenging, but most of all confusing at times while dealing with him. My Libra friend is a Libra sun and Libra moon. So it's interesting for anybody who has a sun and the moon sign that are the same. It's really interesting to me because it's like they don't really change when they get upset. Like, my sun is in Pisces, but my moon is in Taurus. So I get stubborn AF when I get upset. And I'm like, no, you're not going to take advantage of me. I'm gone. But my Pisces sun is like, oh, understanding. Like, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But when that moon kick in, I'm gone. I'm sorry. Not even sorry. Bye. But with the Libra moon, without the sun, and you're an Aquarius, so at least your sun trines his moon, baby. Your Aquarius sun and moon, but you have tons of Libra placements. Yeah, I don't get it. It's like, how are you the same when you're upset? Like, what? Well, an Aquarius moon and a Libra moon would be interesting because I feel like Aquarius can be an energy of distance. Excuse me, but Libra doesn't like for anything to change. So let's say that as an Aquarius moon, if you get upset, like your default is to put distance in the situation. But their Libra moon tries to keep you at the same distance. So if this is the distance y'all have, when you move, they'll also move. And so maybe you feel like you can't get enough distance in those situations, and they feel like you're trying to put too much distance in that situation, and things get all mixed up. So that can be one area where that can be a little difficult because Libra is about maintaining the balance. And I know Aquarius, even in a few other placements, when it gets activated, it just gets distant. It gets distant AF. It's just gone. It's gone. And I'm like, Aquarius placement, where did you go? Like, can we talk about this? And Aquarius is like all the way in another galaxy already. I'm like, okay, bye, I guess. So yeah, maybe that's it. And I can see how that would be challenging for both of you. Um, where do I have? I have Saturn in Aquarius. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because that's where my Aquarius is, and with my Libra friend, it's like once he crossed certain boundaries, I was gone. I'm like, you know what? I don't need this in my life, and I would leave, and then he'd be like, "Whoa, where are you going? Like, what's happening? Like, blah blah blah." I'm like, dude, see, if you want to stay in my space, you gotta act right. If you can't act right, you're gone, and that's the space that we can maintain. You decide. Right, and we both show up. You ain't gonna be I don't want friends that only take advantage of me. I don't want friends like I want friends who are actually friends. Right? I want support. I want, celebration. I want I want to be able to share like happy things without these wrenches and he'd be like, well, if I'm nice to you all the time, then you'll get used to it. And my Taurus placement is like, my Taurus moon is like, well, what's wrong with us being friends all the time? I don't know. I don't know. You're a North Node Aquarius as well. Oof. I don't know what that's like to have energy where your North Node is. Because I'm a North Node Sag, South Node Gemini, and I don't have anything in Sag or Gemini besides my North and South Node. But with your sun in the space of your North Node, you would think that it makes it easier, or that you're like your sun and moon in the space of your North Node. You would think that it makes you naturally inclined to do what you're supposed to be doing or to follow the path that you're on, as opposed to like having your sun and moon on your South Node when it's like what you naturally do is like what you should be getting out of. I don't know. Sag rising. Hey, well, the Sag rising brings the fun. And the free, well, Sagittarius and Aquarius. Oh my gosh, that's the sextile of just like that's the rocket. That's just like, oh no, that's the like the beam me up energy. It's like there and then gone. Sagittarius is like I'm out. Aquarius is like I'm out. Boom, just gone, just gone. Hey Casey, how you doing today? Now that's a sextile. That's the magic. That's just like, now you see me, now you don't type energy. I was like, ooh, I get it though. Honestly, for me though, it takes a while for me to get to that point. It takes a while for me to get to that point. But my Saturn is in Aquarius. So once those boundaries are crossed, it's like, you know what? It took a long time for me to reach this point. I don't have too many cares left to really give. I'm gone. Your code name is Storm. Ooh, man, that's one of those like fire tornadoes. I love it though. I love it because I feel like some of us, unfortunately, got to teach other people how to act right, and I feel like, especially for the type of person that always gets their way, which could be a lot of Libran energy, potentially, maybe not, maybe not, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch. But then you encounter someone where, like, you actually have to put in work and they don't just cater to you all the time. And if you don't put in the work, then they're gone. And I feel like it teaches us this higher definition of balance with Libran energy. It raises Libran energy to a higher frequency where it comes more into that justice energy rather than just that equaling energy, right? It's almost the difference between equity and equality when we start talking about like getting into the semantics. It's almost like that, but pretty much a firestorm. I love it. My mom is a Sag rising, and it only took like, how old am I? How old is she? It only took like maybe 40 years. Okay, that's not fair because I'm not 40 years old. It only took like 25 years maybe for me to start seeing her Sag rising part, or the Sagittarius in her chart. Now I see it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you continue to do it. She doesn't either. So that was fun. I do want to preface this by saying I am not an astrologer. I do not study the planets. I don't know history to be like, oh, last time we had this placement, it was 1874 and this happened. And honestly, I'm not interested in it either. I'm more interested in how energy currently plays out. I'm interested in looking at the higher bands of what they can give us because, I mean, when you're operating in lower frequencies, you're going to get the lower end of the stick when it comes to what an energy can give you, right? And it's like we're trying to get out of that. So, and I learned everything in metaphor. So, that's how whatever. That was fun, Blooming Rose. But maybe that's where some of that tension can come between his Libra moon and like all of your Aquarius and Sagittarius. And also, Libra is Venus ruled. So part of them is kind of used to getting their way, but it's like the masculine side of Venus. I don't know. But the feminine side of Venus in my chart is like, no, no, this ain't gonna work. No, sorry, it's a no for me. It's a no for me. But maybe someone else will like it. Just not me. Just not me. Maybe someone else. Try someone else. So, limitation. Your life and language is usually a metaphor. Well, hey, maybe that's why we get along. See, I think that's where like Pisces and Aquarian energy really gets along because they're both out there. Now, Aquarian energy is out there in a more practical way, in a more realistic way, right? Like Aquarius metaphor will be something that makes sense. Pisces metaphor, you'll just be like, what? What are you talking about? But if you think about it for a second, if you get into the fantasy, then you'd be like, oh, okay, I see it now. See, with Pisces, you really have to build out the fantasy. For Aquarius, it's just like right there. Even though they're both still a little bit out there. They're both still a little bit out there, but oh wow, we have the Five of Cups again. The Five of Cups came out yesterday. And it's interesting because the King of Swords was actually the second card that came out under the Five of Cups, but now it's sitting off to the side talking with the Queen of Cups, the two dames at the table, at the tea table. Now, I don't know about the etiquette and the procedures of tea parties, but I'm assuming that sometimes they're doing more than just drinking tea. Sometimes they're actually talking about things, and this is one of those moments where they're talking about things. And honestly, this energy feels very internal. I mean, they're all internal. But like I was saying, like we might have to dial back the emotions a little bit and dial up the okay, like what is actually helping me get closer to my goals and get closer to my dreams? What is fueling my fire and what is diminishing my fire? And if you're too water heavy, water naturally puts out fire, and fire naturally evaporates water. But if it's too water heavy, you're putting out the fire. And so, especially with the Queen of Cups being the limitation, it's telling me that there's probably some emotional ties to some things that aren't actually serving you. And with the Five of Cups as the limitation, it's like there are certain things that you have to walk away from, but it's difficult to walk away. Probably because of ties or something. As we've been talking about Aquarian energy, sometimes you got to get into that Aquarian energy and just put in some space. And once you get a little bit of space, you'll start to see how things kind of sort of shake out. You'll start to see a little bit of the shadow. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, like, I knew the shadow was dark, but this dark? I don't know. Because my light don't too much have time for shadow right now, right? I'm trying to be in this like onesie energy where my light is shining, and this air energy that fuels the light, and this earth energy that grounds it so it doesn't go out of control, and this water energy that makes it warm instead of incinerating. That's the part I'm working on now. I'm working on coming out of the incineration phase and coming into the warming phase, right? Because Queen of Cups is the energy that I'm reacquainting myself with this month. Yeah. I know it can be a little incendiary sometimes, and that's never the intention. But at the same time, things in me have changed, and certain things on the outside world are no longer acceptable. And, we see that all over the place. So, step one to this Five of Cups is the Five of Wands. And we see the dragonflies, 5-5. You could be seeing 55 or 555 or 55555. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. With the Five of Wands, it's about holding your ground. Right? We're talking about Virgo energy. And Virgo can be a little timid. It can be. And because of that, it could be easy to take advantage of Virgo. The Virgo energy was the grand dame, the grand dames at the tea table, right? And so you come across some grand dames having tea. You might think that they're airheaded. You might think that they're a little vapid. You might think that you can sell them anything and they'll buy it. But these are actually some pretty smart ladies. These are actually extremely intelligent women. Just because they're gorgeous don't mean that they don't have brains. And you see a pretty woman and you think, oh, this will be easy. And then she comes at you with all of this energy. And it ain't even all of this. It ain't even all of this. She'll just call you out and then you feel attacked. You get hyper defensive because it's like, oh, this isn't somebody that I can just take advantage of. Now I got to recover. I don't want to look like a bad person, even though your intentions are terrible. But you didn't want them to be seen. You didn't think that they would be seen, but I mean, and it's like with all of the cups energy, hey, cups and fire, cups and fire. Oh my gosh. With all of the cups energy, it's like being in tune with the self and with other people. And so you might not have had even gotten to the part of your conversation where you just start lying to these girls, but something about you doesn't feel right. And then it's like, oh, okay, we know who you are. We'll let you talk for a second. And as soon as you trip up, got him. Right? Your best friend is a Virgo. You absolutely get her. My best friend, I have a few Virgo best friends. I love them. I don't necessarily, well, I get it. But maybe it's because of the Taurus and Aquarius in my chart, where I'm like, after a certain point, you have to start doing something for you. Like the Virgo best friends that I have can be extremely selfless to the point where like they're sacrificing their own livelihoods or joy or happiness for somebody else, or because they don't want to be mean, or because of whatever else. And I'm like, I understand that, but at the same time, eventually, like, you have to start living your life for you, and you have to start investing in your own happiness, because whatever the people in your life are doing, it doesn't seem like they too much care about your happiness. It seems like they're more interested in theirs and how you are a part of it, or how you continue to feed their happiness. But what are they giving you in return? And then when you do try to do something for yourself, you're met with such extreme opposition. I'll be like, girl, like, you have too much in store for you to keep doing this. Like, I get it, but at the same point, you need to come into some Aquarius. You need to come into some Pisces, not Pisces. Well, Pisces can swim away. Some Taurus. What's another good sign? Some Scorpio. Cut it off. Some Leo. Any fixed energy. Honestly, you need to find some fixed energy in your chart to stand your ground. Right? Maybe that's what fixed energy. Fixed energy in your chart is where you stand your ground. I have fixed energy in my moon, so emotionally I stand my ground. I got fixed energy in my Saturn. Well, Saturn is already about boundaries. Um, Fixed energy in my Pluto, which can also talk about those boundaries with Saturn. And then I got fixed energy in my Chiron, which is the Leo, which is the part that I'm working on now. So, anyway. Oh, this is Leo energy. Yeah, Five of Wands. This is Leo energy. So yeah, if it's not growing you, it might be shrinking you. And it's time to stop shrinking. So step one, stop shrinking. Hold your ground. Excuse me. And you don't have to be extremely confrontational with people. All you got to do is be like, you know what? Like, at this point in my life, I'm really trying to build myself, and I'm trying to work with people who build me. So if all you have to offer me is control and taking, and you don't pour anything back into me, I'm good. I don't need it. I don't want it. It don't matter if I need it or not. I don't want it. I don't need it and I don't want it. Head and heart, bye bye. Step one, stand your ground. Step two is the Hierophant, which is another five. Well, I did say you might be seeing 555, and here's a 555. The Hierophant speaks of commitments. This is a commitment to self and a commitment to your boundaries. And with all of the dragonflies in here, dragonflies to me symbolize ancient knowledge and wisdom. And it's almost like if you've forgotten those parts of who you are, you're not going to remember by continuing to constantly give to other people. Now I'm getting too warm and I got to take off my little jacket. 1 second. Goodness, it was freezing in here earlier. That's why I put it on. I might have to take off my shirt. I'm not taking off my shirt. This is a commitment to the self. And the Hierophant has a wand that is topped by a star. So that's that Leo Aquarius polarity. And yeah, I've been seeing a lot of them lately too. The Leo Aquarius polarity is all about social life. There's your tighter social circles, or your more leisurely platonic social circles with the Leo energy. And then there's your bigger, maybe higher impact, maybe more organizational social structures with Aquarius. And there needs to be this balance of both, right? Or maybe you need a cleanup, do a cleanup in both. But yeah, this is a commitment to stand your ground. It's like when you stand your ground, you have to do that more than one time, unfortunately, right? It's like you have to do it every time. This is something that you're going to have to see through. And it feels like this is going to be a brand new way of going about things. And so there's going to be a lot of past things to undo. And your emotions may flare up and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm so mean. Like I could have done that. And it's like, no, love yourself, care about yourself, pour into yourself. And like if you're pouring out to people who pour into you, it's fine because that's reciprocal. You'll get back what you poured into them. If they ain't pouring into you, stop pouring into them. Pisces and Virgo, the axis of servitude, especially, right? Pisces was the harvest moon. Virgo was the ladies who already made it, sitting at the table. Gemini and Sagittarius, those were, it's like the nomad and the builder. But Pisces and Virgo, it's like the blessings are there. You have to learn to stop giving them away. You have to learn to stop taking from yourself. That Gemini Sagittarius aspect is about building it for themselves. So maybe that Gemini Sagittarius energy has been using the Pisces, and it said that in the story. Gemini Sagittarius energy uses the Virgo Pisces energy to get where they want, and it's fine as long as it's mutually beneficial. The key word here is mutually beneficial. Stick to what is mutually beneficial. If it ain't, then you hit them with the star Aquarius and you put some space in there. If it is, you hit them with the staff Leo and you warm them up a little bit, right? It's the balance. Step number 3 is the 3 of Swords. Probably gonna have to cut some people out your life, and it just is what it is. 3 of Swords is Gemini energy. Second decan of Gemini, which is Gemini with a touch of Libra, or Gemini proceeding into Libra energy. Gemini is local community. Libra is the balance, right? So it almost speaks of how you've established yourself in this way. And because you've established yourself in this way, the merchants have gotten used to peddling faulty goods to you or peddling goods to you that are extremely overpriced. And like being the dame at the tea party, you have the funds to pay for it and you keep paying for it. And so if you keep paying for it, why wouldn't they keep selling it to you for as much as they can? And it's not a great energy for people who you would consider to be a friend or a family member or someone that you care about. It's like, well, if you care about me, really, then regardless of if you think you can take advantage of me or not, you shouldn't because you care about me, supposedly. And again, like I said, with this Queen of Cups, it almost feels like there's this energy that after she's grown and evolved, she's going to come back into these spaces and she's going to realize how much she's actually been taken advantage of this whole time. And it might be a little bit difficult. So if there is a little affirmation I could inject here, it would be like, I care for myself in word, thought, and action indefinitely. Let me look at this, because it looks like this is a water spout. We got these water spouts coming out of the island. And there are also 3 fish down here. But, so there are 3 swords on the island. We see the hilt for 2 of them. And then we see the water for 2 of them. And this to me says that it's not going to be a complete and total loss. Your biggest lesson in 20 years. Stop giving too much to others and never to yourself. Yeah, I've been learning that lesson heavy this year. This year specifically, but I started learning that lesson when I met my Libran friend. So in 2016 it started, but he's also taught me like better lessons than that. He's also taught me to speak up for what I want and to be more forgiving and to not be so extreme to right all the time, that sometimes if the person is worth it, then they're worth working with. And that's that Sagittarian sculptor energy. And it isn't necessarily about molding someone else, but it's seeing the potential behind the granite, behind the marble, behind the clay. And I'm not the type of person to mold anyone else. I'll just be like, hey, I don't need people like this, or that in my life. If you want to be in my life, you're going to have to stop being this, and that, because this is using me. This is taking and not giving anything back. And this is not being a decent person. I don't need users. I don't need takers. And I don't need indecent people. Right? I don't need people out here with like, oh, that's my opinion. I can think whatever. I'm like, okay, you can. But I also have the right to choose who is and who is not in my life. And I don't feel the responsibility to keep you or your trash opinions in my life. You can find somebody else that subscribes to that. I don't need that type of hatred and negativity and bigotry and stuff like that. No, I'm good. I pass. And you are absolutely entitled to your opinion, and I am absolutely entitled to not have you in my life and to not have to listen to you. Just because you got an opinion don't mean I gotta listen. It's a whole bunch of people that don't listen to my opinions. It just is what it is. But yeah, Bloom and Rose, I've been learning that too. And it's been heavier this year. Poisonally. Because sometimes, you stab a sword into the ground and some water comes out. Sometimes you stab a sword into the ground and nothing comes out. Because there is a third sword that ain't linked to a water spout. But that's telling me that not everyone in your community is bad. Maybe it's like 2/3 of them are good for you, or maybe it's 1/3 of them. I don't know if water is good or bad. Well, I think water is good, right? It depends. Because if the water is like legitimate, then I think that would be good. If these are crocodile tears that people cry just to keep you from leaving, then it's like, boy, girl, bye. Person, bye. Right, and it ain't just Felicia. It could be Tabitha. It could be Jill. It could be Joe, Bob, Sam, Alex, anybody. But we do have these three fish down here. So I'm going to say that water is good because it speaks to a fluidity and emotion down here. And I think sometimes we do things to people that we care about not because we don't care about them, but because there are things within ourselves that are still, I don't want to say fractured, but there are things within ourselves that still need to be healed, or there's some maturing or some growth that we still need to do. And sometimes it's like the shadow acts out, even if like that isn't the truest of intentions. Now, some people are just users, and some people will cry, especially if they know that like you're weak to tears. They'll cry because they know that it'll keep you around. It's the merchant right at the table. But I think it's also to exercise some understanding because we all go through Three of Swords moments, right? And we all have areas of our life where we need to Five of Wands step up. And depending on what our commitment to that is, it will kind of sort of, and not necessarily commitment, because the Hierophant is commitment, but with commitment also comes time, right? And so there is the learning, there's the honeymoon phase, and then there's like the reality, and then there's the adjustment, and you never stop adjusting fully But after you really learn somebody, then it's like some of those adjustments happen automatically, right? That's like, okay, that's not personal. That's just how this person responds to stress. This isn't personal. That's how that person responds to whatever, right? And so the key is to have open communication on both sides where you could be like, hey, like, you're acting a little whatever today. Like, are you stressed, or like, what's going on? Right now, if the other person gets super defensive and they're like, oh, I'm not stressed, I'm not whatever, why do you always think I'm stressed, blah 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 blah, then it's like, okay, breakdown in communication. It's like, be honest with yourself and be honest with me, because by this point you've learned the other person, right? And like I know my mama, and I know that she doesn't like want me to be worried about her or whatever. But I do still worry about her because she's my mother. And I know when she's going through something and she tries to hide it. But we both Pisces. So just like she know when I'm going through something and I'm trying to hide it. But we don't always talk about it. And I've been enjoying talking with my mother lately. I mean, we've always had a pretty open relationship, but for the deepest things, for the Scorpio territory things, those are things that we don't really talk about. Even though we both see it in the other. Right. But with her being the mother and me being the child, it skews the dynamic where she comes into my depths, and it also skews it where I'm not really allowed to go into hers. But I mean, hey, if there's something that I can help you with, then let me help, right? But I think I can be a little bit overbearing in that sometimes. And that's something that I learned last year. And it's kind of effed, honestly, it's kind of effed my intuition a little bit because I'm like, I'm fairly good at listening, and I can also connect with people pretty deeply, especially if I care about them. And so there are things that will make themselves apparent to me, but I've never really been allowed the permission to, since I've never been given the permission, and it's understandably so because everyone has boundaries, but I've never really talked about those deep things. And some of them they have to be uncovered by themselves, right? If someone else tells you, it's not always as effective. Maybe if you're in a professional setting, then it would be. But there are just things that I can see. And I've talked about it before. Some of the things are like when it comes to the things that people desire and what they're actually doing, or the mindsets that they're holding, it's like, okay, well, that's not going to get you where you want to go. But also, some of it is emotional. And sometimes other people's emotions, it's too much. Because if it's too much for them to actually address, then what am I supposed to do? That's why I'd be like, you know what? That ain't my business. That's a you thing. After you figure that out, it'll open up a whole bunch of doors. Why don't these not want to shuffle? Hello? There we go. Ooh, the Ten of Pentacles just took the star. The star is on the bottom a whole bunch. But yeah, and I met someone else who was like, you know, he was like, I know that you're like super whatever, but I would appreciate it that like if I say I'm fine, then you just take it because I don't want to talk about it. I was like, okay, that's fair. That's fine. Thank you for letting me know where your boundary is. But especially since then, it's like, I don't know. I went from having this it's not my problem mentality to caring about people and it's still not being my problem. And yeah, excuse me. And the other day, for some reason, like all day, I just had this feeling of not really being able to help the people that I care about. And it was like tearing me apart all day. Because then I was like, well, why do I do anything? Like, words don't actually help people. And there was a part of me that's like, something is helpful to somebody. Maybe. I know it is. Some of what I do is helpful. But then there was that part of me that didn't feel like it's enough, or that it is like it doesn't do anything substantial, right? Because I feel like, at least when it comes to the axis of servitude, Virgo can be a lot more like physical, or Virgo can lead to things that actually show up in one's 3D space. But on the Pisces side, it's like a lot of mental, maybe emotional support. And so the payoff you might not necessarily see. But it was just hitting me so hard that day. And then the day progressed, and I'm like, oh, okay. This is why I was feeling like that. And it was so mean. It was so mean to have me in that space literally all day. To have me feeling that literally all day, not being able to help the people that I care about. But also, we're living in a time where we have to do it for ourselves, and sometimes love is enough. Sometimes love is all we can give. So, right? And I was like, you know what? I've done all that I can. I do all that I can sometimes. And we're definitely living in a time where we can't do everything for everybody. And everyone is coming to the point where they know and they realize what it is that's holding them back. And they can make the decision to wade through the mess, to, gurk through the murk, or they cannot and try to ignore it. And it's not my job or my responsibility to ensure that people do what it is that they need to do to get to where they want to be. It's their own job. Just like I did it for me, other people have to do it for themselves. Just as I continue to do for me, other people will have to continue to do for themselves. But it was just like really hitting me all day. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. Why am I feeling so like useless and powerless to help the people that I care about? But that was a few days ago, so I'm over it now. Is that judgment? That is judgment. Talking about judgment. Judgment is what's driving the chariot, unsurprisingly. So let's get a final message from the affirmators. Please. Final message from the affirmators. Please. Final message from the affirmators. How long have I been on here? Oh, only an hour and 7 minutes. I just saw the 3 of Wands. I saw the rainbow. Okay. Final message, please. I'll even read it from the book. Why not? Okay. Word. Bottom of the deck is the King of Pentacles. So we see another king. Now, the King of Pentacles is the king of things that make sense, right? Like, that make tangible sense. Not like mental sense. Not like emotional sense. Not like, carnal sense, but like actual sense. Things that make actual sense. And I think that's the energy to take when these merchants come to the table. Right? It's like you're interrupting our tea party. Excuse me. And it's like, oh, your majesties, or oh, your ladyships. Forgive my intrusion, but I believe I have something that may interest you. It's like, well, this is the tea party, so it better be good. Not only good, it better be really good. Because if it ain't, you best believe you will never be granted permission to this court again, interrupting my tea party. You better be Michael Jackson from Remember the Time doing all kinds of magic tricks. I'm just playing. Okay. I do want to watch that, though. That's one of my mom's favorite songs, by the way. So, the 6 of Wands. Lights, camera, action. And look, we see the boots of Hermes. We see the boots of Hermes stunting on the haters. Flexing on them hoes. Sorry. But it's above it. It's above it. It's like, hey, I got my 2 wands. You can keep those other ones. Even though the 4 wands, sometimes the biggest celebration comes with not fighting certain battles. When you know who you are, you ain't got to fight everything. You really don't. That's the energy of like, let spirit, let the divine, let whoever you believe in take care of your battles. Because, like, there are more important things for you to do. Kings don't just waste their time with any fool who comes to the court. Queens don't just waste their time with any fool who comes to the court. And it speaks to that hierophant commitment to the self, right? And it's like, you got to grow up a little bit, because there will be fools who come to the court who will attack your ego, or who will attack your weaknesses, or whatever they perceive as a way that they can get to you. And they will come, they will try, but you don't have to feed into it, right? Know the power of your worth and of your status, and carry yourself appropriately. And if somebody used to be a part of the court, but they wouldn't act right and they get cut out, and then they want to act up because they ain't part of the court no more, that's on them. Because we're all responsible for ourselves and our growth, right? Sometimes being too close to other people can hurt more than it helps, and that's why we get that Aquarius distance before we get the Pisces realization, right? Because it's like the hermit energy that sits opposite to Pisces. Like, sometimes you gotta do that on your own, and to have other people in the field, or to have everyone else's opinion or everyone else's way, it might not help. Excuse me. And there's one person I got into on Instagram a while ago, because he was sharing like motivational, inspirational things. I was like, oh, this is lit, this is cool, I like it. But then he's like, oh, if you want to be successful, just copy what successful people do. If you want to be this or do that, then just copy word for word, action for action, thought for thought what they do. And I'm like, okay, something about that don't sit right with me, because I'm not a copy. And everything I need to know is within me. But you're telling me to abandon everything that is within me and do exactly what somebody else is doing. But what works for them might not work for me. Like, where's that thought? It's like, it ain't just about finding someone who is where you want to be, especially if y'all are two completely different people. What worked for them might not work for you. And I don't know. I'm not interested in like things that are like regurgitated and passed and passed and passed from mouth to mouth to mouth, getting more and more and more diluted by your saliva, their saliva, everybody in the whole world's saliva. And it's like, eventually that's more spit than it is anything else. And when it comes to things that I don't feel a personal energetic connection to, I just let it slide. And it's like, I like to, like, if I'm exposed to something, I get that energetic hit, and then I run with, and I move forward with what makes sense from my vantage point of that, not necessarily like what the common or more popular thing is. And everything I do, I always try to interject a little bit of me or a lot of bit of me into it, because if it ain't me, it ain't gonna work for me, and I'm not gonna be interested in it. So I don't know, right? And it's like, if you're coming into the Six of Wands victory, it's a fight that you fought. Hopefully, it ain't. I mean, you ain't taking somebody else's victory. Well, some people do. Anyway, Six of Wands. Let's read it, shall we? You've just scored the coolest ever world's best mug. And it's here. Oh, this is hard to read. And it's here to honor you and your many splendored victories. Feel weird about it? Knock it off. You deserve to be proud of whatever it is that mug is applauding you for. So enjoy the recognition from yourself and others, and use it to keep on moving, or to keep on moonwalking like a champ to more triumph ahead. This slow clap is just getting started. The first of many victories. Oh, I'm gonna try my best to read this affirmation, y'all. It's like blue on blue. It's like darker blue on lighter blue. It ain't always the easiest to read. And then like the words are light blue on white. I'm like, at least if it was black on white, it would be a little bit easier. To my eyes, they all kind of sort of blend in. Like, look at this. I do love this deck. It's just a little hard to read sometimes. And sometimes my eyes are better at reading than other times. Sometimes I need to just slow down. I am openly, unabashedly, shy. What? I can't read this. Hold up. Oh, if I hold it up, it's a little easier. Girl, hold up. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a picture of this on my phone, blow it up, and then read it to you. I might email them and see if they'll give me either email them and see if they give me a PDF so I can just flip the colors. Here we go. We'll flip these colors. We'll see if it's actually easier to read or not. Because now it'll be like red on black or something. Now it's red on white on black or orange on whatever. Oh, it is easier. Okay. It says, I am openly, unabashedly, shout it with the windows all the way down, proud of myself, and I'm going to keep on being the fabulous me that got me here. And that's another thing about journeys. Like you kind of sort of got to keep doing it. Kind of sort of. You kind of sort of got to keep up with it, right? Like I said before, with that Hierophant commitment, it ain't always necessarily like a one time apply solution that fixes it forever. It's something that like you have to continue to show up for yourself. You have to continue to have agency for yourself. And as you build, it gets easier because you stop attracting people into your experience who would just take advantage of you. And it's like it shifts the balance. But in those in between times and in the meantime, it's something that you got to continuously do and be proud of yourself, right? It doesn't matter how much farther you still have to go. Be proud of where you are. You should be extremely proud of where you are. If where you are isn't where you were, right? It's about the Knight of Pentacles, because the Knight of Pentacles is the only one that actually gets to the correct destination. Not the only one, but you know, it's like the Knight of Pentacles can do it right the first time because he takes his time, and he might be a little slow, but you know, as they say, better late than never, right? So that's what I got. I hope y'all have a good whenever y'all see this, and I hope y'all are acting in alignment to make the good even better. It's going to be 28 degrees tomorrow, so let's just get a little preview. Let's just get a little preview for what this is going to be. And I don't think I told y'all the title of the book. It might have been $1.99 or it might have been free, because the other one was like not free, or it was like expensive, which is fine. Like, I don't mind, you know, shilling out pentacles and coins when I need it, but sometimes you can find something that's more accommodated to you, or suited for you, and not. And I love this. Like I said, I love the crosses and how it like relates everything. So let me see if I can get the title page. I know it's cross. Preface. Let's go to the title. Oh, these are all the. So this is Crosses of the Sabian Symbols. Loosen the Energy of Your Astrology by Beck Louis. I think it's Beck Louis. On the phone. Y'all can't see that. Maybe you can. There you go. Crosses of the Sabian Symbols. Loosen the energy of your astrology. I just reached my daily reading goal. That's sad. So let's go to 27 to 28 degrees. No, that's what we did today. Let's go to 28 to 29 degrees. Mutable signs. Mutable signs. And I'm also a person that's big on perspective and interconnectedness, so that's another reason why I like this. So, tomorrow, Gemini, a man declared bankrupt. Oh my gosh. Virgo, a bald-headed man. Why is this degree so savage? Sagittarius, an old bridge over a beautiful stream. Okay. Pisces, a fertile garden under the full moon. So we have the harvest moon at 27 to 28. And then we have the fertile garden at 28 to 28 to 29. Hold on, wait. Hold up. Did I do this wrong? This is 27 to 28. What did I read? I read 26 to 27. I think I was supposed to read 27 to 28. Oh my gosh. So here at the end, we're about to switch everything up. And maybe that's why I felt led to do this little preview of tomorrow. So that was everything in the past. So ending with that Three of Swords, it feels like some of what we were working with didn't pan out. We thought that it would be mutually beneficial, and maybe it was mutually beneficial for a little bit, but then it reached the point where it's not. Now we got a bald-headed dude, we got a dude declaring bankruptcy, we have a bridge that's been made over this stream, and we have a fertile garden under the full moon. Yeah, I needed to read 27 to 28. That was 26 to 27. I apologize. But in all things, there's something. So again, 26 to 27 was a gypsy coming out of the forest, grand dames at tea, a sculptor, and a harvest moon. So let's get into the 27 to 28 for today. A man declared bankrupt is Gemini. Virgo is a bald-headed man. So now we bald-headed. Somebody snatched our edges. Snatched the wig right off our head, the weave right out our scalp. Sagittarius is an old bridge over a beautiful stream, and Pisces is a fertile garden under the full moon. And we just had that Pisces full harvest moon. Next full moon is in Aries. I don't know what moon that is. Gemini's bankruptcy is a legal process that allows individuals unable to repay debt to seek relief from some or all of their debts. I actually love that energy because to me that reads as the divine assisting in this healing. And it's not necessarily easy because you still have to show up and do the things within you. But like I was talking about yesterday, if you shovel an inch, they'll shovel a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet. Also, legal processes do take time. It is considered financial failure and, for better or worse, means the law intervenes to resolve disputes between the debtor and creditor. The doctor. Virgo's baldness describes the loss of hair from the head. The causes of baldness range from genetics and high testosterone to illness, drugs, or trauma. A common issue is lack of self-confidence before accepting the baldness. Baldness represents insecurity and feeling exposed. Noon till 1996. Now, insecurity, it's like it starts with a little bit of balding. And maybe it's not even balding. Maybe, I don't know, you just shed a few hairs and you start freaking out like, oh my gosh, I'm balding. But the stress and the fear of balding amplifies balding in your frequency. Also, if we view it from a different perspective, if this is like a spiritual balding, the monks, a lot of monks in monasteries have shaved heads. And let's say that it opens up the crown chakra, it reduces feedback and interference, and it allows you to more easily and readily accept that. Hair, a lot of times, is something that we dress up, and it's something that comes to define us, but is something very surface and superficial. And it's interesting because yesterday I watched, I think her name is Michaela Cole. I don't know how to pronounce it, but she's the lead from Chewing Gum on Netflix, and she's done other things. And she was talking about how she went somewhere for a gig and was ostracized by some of the locals, and the producers were like, just bear it because we have a TV show to watch. And she said she already had anxiety about going there in the first place, but nobody listened to her. And she said that there was but she said she's used to being a misfit. Now, there was somebody else who wasn't used to being a misfit, and she said that it might be because of her hair color. And when she did research, Michaela, to prepare, she found that, like, 95% of people don't even naturally have that hair color, but for some reason, it's become one of the standards of beauty or something like that. It's been like blown all the way out of proportion. It's like, why is this the standard when only 5% of people have this? This isn't representative of any whole. It could be representative of a microcosm of a subculture, yeah, sure. But like, to have this be something that becomes the standard for like everybody, or that becomes a global standard, like how? And it's hair. Sagittarius's symbol brings to mind the phrase water under the bridge, meaning the past cannot be undone, represented by water flowing away. So accept, forgive, or forget it, represented by the bridge and getting over it. Running water, Sagittarius's beautiful stream, represents meditation, talking about the monks, reflection, and spiritual attunement. Bridges over water represent emotional transitions and positive change. Dream Moods Inc. 2019. That was the credit for that. So that's also interesting because I was talking about needing to dial back the emotions and increasing the fire of like what fuels my fire, what diminishes my fire, what gets me closer to the vision, what gets me further from the vision, and what fires burn with my flame and what fires burn against it. Excuse me. Pisces' full moon means completion and wholeness. Dream Moods Inc. 2019. Many different cultures celebrate the full moon, which is associated with insanity and magic. Compared to Gemini's and Virgo's symbols of lack, Pisces' symbol shows abundance. The moon itself has many phases, so Pisces' moon at times of waning can connect with Gemini and Virgo. The fertile garden implies the tradition of gardening by the moon, apparently bearing a tastier, larger harvest, suggesting the theme of the cross is about cycles. And we did just have the harvest moon last time with Pisces, which was the energy of since the moon is so close and so bright, we can actually harvest well into the night or well into the time where the sun has gone away, whereas in the past, we weren't able to do that. This includes ebb and flow in Sagittarius' stream, lack of Gemini's wealth and Virgo's hair, and abundance Pisces. So I'll read that last bit again because I broke it up. Okay. The fertile garden implies the tradition of gardening by the moon, apparently bearing a tastier, larger harvest, suggesting the theme of the cross is about cycles. This includes ebb and flow in Sagittarius' stream, lack of Gemini's wealth and Virgo's hair, and abundance Pisces. Overall, the cross describes phases: the moon in gardening, emotional transitions, times of struggle, and eventually harvest. Layered in the cross is the spiritual gain that occurs from letting go. Gemini's man is declared bankrupt, admitting financial failure to move out of the mire of debt. Sorry. He concedes and accepts. The bankrupt man and Virgo's bald-headed man, both have to wrestle with feelings of exposure and insecurity, then let those feelings go. Sagittarius, to allow a phase of spiritual wealth. Pisces' fertile garden suggests that while we surrender to transition, we will not go hungry. Life will give us water and food, if not material wealth. There is a blessing in every hardship. I love that. And I've been seeing the card of, or I've been feeling this energy of like what was lost will be returned. And it seems like every time I mention that, or when that energy is super prevalent, I get the corresponding card in the Dysology deck. And we started with Five of Wands, the Hierophant, Three of Swords. With the Five of Cups being the limitation, It's vulnerability. The limitation was giving up the illusion that we cling on to so tightly to have a sense of stability, or to put ourselves in a situation that's better than what we actually feel in, than we actually feel that we're in. And it creates this disconnect between the physical, the mental, and the emotional. Because physically, that's not the situation you're in. Mentally, you can try to convince yourself of it, but you know that that's not the situation you're in. Cue depression, anxiety, or whatever else, whatever other product of mental turmoil. And then emotionally, it creates that same sort of um, disharmony, where it's like when it's mentally and emotionally good, you're good and it's rose tinted, but sometimes it goes to the shadow. And like I said earlier, it's like it's about taking off the glasses and just seeing it as it is. And once you can accept it as it is, once you surrender it, let your hair go, let your finances go, flow with the water, create the bridge over these troubles, and allow spirit in the space of Pisces to fulfill all of what was lost. And not only will it fulfill all of what was lost, it will give you more for your suffering and for your loss, right? It's like it'll pay you back with interest. And it reminds me of when I was talking to one of my best friends. It was a while ago. And I was telling her about me coming into the space of authentically using my voice. And since I'm authentically using my voice, the amount of value that I bring to a lot of stuff is a lot more immense than it was before, because I notice a lot of things, but I don't necessarily, or I didn't necessarily say anything. But if I notice something and I say something, especially something that others may not be noticing or speaking on, then not only does it open up a new energetic potential, but it illuminates those things that can be taken care of, that's within our control to address. So it's like it closes doors to potential failures and opens doors to new successes. It's a twofold blessing. And she was like, I can't wait for you to like really come into this, because whatever blessings that you've been self-sabotaging and whatever blessings that you've been blocking, like they've been growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So when they come in, it's actually going to be more than what you initially expected, because they've been swelling in this space, right? It's like a sponge, and it's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger because it's absorbing more and more the longer you leave it in the water. So by the time you take it out, that thing gonna be wet, wet. Oh my gosh, that moist, moist, meow, meow. It's gonna be wet, wet. When you take it out, because it's been stewing in the juices, and I feel like it's that energy. So I'm really, really, really glad I gave this preview that was actually the energy that we're supposed to be in today. And to me, that just says something about like us being so caught up in the Five of Wands, Three of Swords energy that we can't even really see that like where we are today is not where we were. But with that Hierophant, we have to act in alignment with that, and we have to show our commitment to that. And not just like have a little piece of paper that's like, oh, hey, like, you're married. It's like, well, where's the actual marriage? Where's the commitment? Right? Where's the building? Where's the joining and the merging and the subsequent rising? Right? Or is it commitment in word only? So yeah, there's a lot out there to be grasped, to be gained, and the like. But it is going to require some commitment to actually go through with it. So, ooh, girl, some things you got to let go. With that Three of Swords again, some things, and there are emotional ties there, and I feel like there can be some Three of Swords pain when you do realize that maybe for the first time you'll see that not everyone who you thought was in your corner is actually in your corner. And maybe there was someone outside that came in a way that was different, or that talked to you in a way that was different, or that exhibited things that were different. And because that wasn't your norm, it initially set off all of these red flags. But like I said, it's like as you progress on your own commitment to bettering yourself, you'll start to attract more and more what lies on this side of your commitment rather than what lied on this side of your commitment. But it's up to you to be the temperance in your own life and to sort it out and to work through it. And again, it's all being supported by the divine right now, right? It's all being supported. So that's what I got. It was a little bit longer than I thought, but hey, I don't mind putting in the time. I just hope it helps somebody. And if it doesn't, I've still done my part to address energetically some things that happen. So maybe Spirit will carry the message to someone in need, and maybe they'll have a thought that's like, hey, like I could just stop leaving out garbage for the rats and the raccoons to come and pick up. Maybe I could put all of the trash in a bag and put the bag in the trash can and put the trash can at the end of wherever the curb or the driveway or whatever, so that when the garbage truck comes by, they'll take out the trash instead of relying on the rodents and decomposers to naturally, slowly break it down. I don't know. What's your life? Do whatever you want to do. At the end of the day, you're all going to do whatever you want to do. So, let me take that back. And let me end this properly. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. And I hope you're acting in alignment to make the good better, the better great, the great fantastic, and the fantastic miraculous. Because for those who believe in miracles, miraculous things are much more likely to occur.